Chapter 81. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The island sunk by Finn was island number 28, which was very small. Just like the style of the Sabaean archipelago, there were many islands, but they were not big and had their own characteristics. This island was almost entirely a place for illegal transactions, with few civilians, so this doomsday-like disaster did not affect innocent people, only the pirates, people engaged in illegal activities, or captured slaves on the island began to flee in panic on the island that was about to sink. The crowd outside the island was also attracted by the natural disaster-like movement, and they quickly came from a distance to watch. When they saw the collapse of the island, they were all stunned. What kind of power is this? Is this a devil fruit ability? That seems to be Julent D. Finn, a pirate with a first bounty of 1.5 billion. Who is he fighting? At this time, an early witness said with a horrified expression, "Just now, did that man say that he is a celestial dragon?" As soon as this was said, an uproar immediately arose, and the atmosphere became tense. The crowd panicked, and many people talked about it, eager to verify it. "I think I heard it too. It can't be true, he actually killed a celestial dragon. Something big is going to happen, run, the Admiral of the Navy is coming." Suddenly, the scene was in chaos, and the weak fled, unwilling to be involved in an unprovoked disaster. The strong were also amazed. This guy was really bold. At this moment, a yellow light flashed in the air, and then a figure appeared. It was the Admiral of the Navy, Kizaru. "Julent D. Finn, do you really want to declare war on us?" Kizaru's expression was extremely serious at this time, and he stopped laughing. With the death of the celestial dragons, especially the members of the Knights of God, it is obvious that there is no room for redemption, and the world government will definitely hunt them down to the end. As a subordinate agency of the world government, the Navy has its own principles, but it certainly cannot stand idly by, so the two sides are already fighting to the death. Although Kizaru also has opinions on the atrocities of the celestial dragons, now it is no longer up to him. Finn looked at Kizaru and did not choose to squeeze their justice. He knew that once what happened here spread, it would affect too many innocent people. Therefore, he was not going to say the reason for the matter. Otherwise, in order to prevent the spread of the news and to protect the reputation of the celestial dragons, the world government would definitely inhumanely launch the demon-killing order and wipe out the Sabaean archipelago. Finn did not want so many innocent people to be affected by him. He just looked at Kizaru indifferently. After many short fights, this time they finally became real opponents. "Come on, justice will prevail." Finn hooked his finger at Kizaru and said casually. He knew in his heart that wherever he ran to now would bring disaster, so he was not going to run. Of course, it was not because he was a saint, but because he knew that Gree was not ready to go to Fishman Island. If he went there now, it would make things worse. Moreover, he did not think that the Navy could catch him in such a hurry. He was actually betting on one thing, that is, whether Akiji was there. He remembered that at this time, Luffy should be near the Seven-Water capital, and Akiji should also be on the way to visit Robin. As a Navy admiral who ate the coldest fruit but had the warmest heart, he was watching her growth all the way. After all, this was the only survivor of their evil deeds, the future of O'Hara, and the shame of his justice. As long as Akiji was not there, the Navy would have no way to deal with him on the sea. As long as they can delay until Gree and the others prepare the boats and head to Fishman Island, they will be able to do whatever they want. Of course, if there is a threat that he cannot resist, then saving his life will be the first priority, and he will just run away. So, he decided to fight right here. Kizaru was in a dilemma at this time. Finn did not choose to escape, and he could not beat him alone. He was hesitant about whether to fight or not. After some thought, he chose to continue watching Finn. After all, Akainu had truly experienced Finn's strength, and the captain of the Knights of God had verified it again with his life. He dared not act rashly now, and of course he needed Finn's cooperation. If Finn ran, he would try his best to catch up, because that was his job. The atmosphere between the two was particularly depressing, and Finn did not continue to provoke Kizaru. He was taking the opportunity to rest, as he had just fought a big battle. the huge Ryuo cannon fist that was delivered to the celestial dragons at the end was really an exaggerated consumption of armament. Hakai.it was still bearable for him, but who knows what kind of enemy will come next, and maintaining the peak of combat power is the most important thing at this time. Did you notice that he was standing directly on the sea? That there were various concerns in the crowd, and they discussed Finn's incredible ability. "Captain, can you tell us what's going on?" A young pirate, very curious, began to ask his captain. A group of people were all listening with their ears erect, ready to eavesdrop. Obviously they didn't understand it, and they also wanted to know. "Humph, when you are as strong as him, you will understand." Obviously, this question is beyond his cognition and belongs to his blind spot of knowledge, so he can only perfunctorily answer. However, some strong people still saw the doorway in it and knew that this was a combination of physical skills and life return. But they couldn't do it with such difficulty, and they couldn't help but admire it secretly. What is he going to do? Why not run? Is he going to challenge the world government alone? Someone asked puzzledly, seeing that Finn was still standing there, with no plans for the next move. The crowd in the distance began to discuss this topic, all with a puzzled look on their faces. This can't be blamed on them, because this scene is really hard to understand. Is there really someone who intends to fight the world government on his own? Finn also heard these remarks, but he was too lazy to pay attention. He had to hurry up to cultivate, and his speed was not as fast as Kizaru. He knew very well that no matter where he ran, he would be followed by Kizaru, and he was helpless. Kizaru's fruit ability was simply a bug. As long as he didn't want to fight you, no one could kill him, especially running away was invincible. Besides, he couldn't bring the trouble to Rayleigh. Others helped him, but they were targeted by the Navy. Wouldn't that harm others? Finn couldn't do such a thing. Although he couldn't repay the kindness, he wouldn't repay the kindness with hatred. Not long after, a huge fleet was seen, quickly heading towards Finn. "Look, the Navy has arrived. Should we run quickly?" At this time, the crowd began to panic again. After all, most of the people who dared to watch the excitement here were lawless pirates. Facing such a lineup of the Navy, they were still a little afraid. Some pirate groups with weak strength have begun to slowly withdraw from the crowd and are quietly leaving here. Obviously, they know their own weight and know that if they continue to watch the excitement, something big may happen. The battle between the strong on the sea is watched by the weak with their lives. The sunken island in front of them is a reminder that people who live on the sea still have this awareness. Pirates who have no self-knowledge have been sunk into the sea long ago. However, they are still very curious about how Finn will respond. Is it really necessary to fight against thousands of troops alone? This is too legendary and magical. Obviously, Finn is planning to delay time alone, wait for Gree's signal, and then go to Fishman Island. Chapter 82. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At this time, the Navy fleet has approached and has formed a blockade. Obviously, this time, they do not intend to let Finn escape. The consequences are unbearable. The strong men of the Navy and the world government began to appear one after another, and a depressing atmosphere enveloped the entire sea area. Navy Marshal Sengoku, Vice Admiral Tsuru, Admiral Akainu, Quasi-Admiral Chatten, Vice Admiral Ghost Spider, Doberman, Bastuv and Huashishin and other strong men appeared on the bow. Because the incident was urgent and there was no time to gather manpower, and troops had to be sent, Sengoku had to bring all the elite combatants left in the headquarters. In addition, an inconspicuous figure appeared on Sengoku's warship, and Finn recognized it at a glance. This was the later Admiral Green Bull. Finn understood instantly. No wonder he was promoted to the Admiral of the Navy during the world recruitment. It turned out that this person had long been a hidden player of the Navy. On the world government side, there are the remaining members of CP0, the leader of the Knights of God, Ferdinand O'Green, and 10 members of the Knights of God, which is obviously a very powerful force. Finn looked around and did not find Akiji, so he had an idea in his mind. It seems that his guess is correct. Akiji is in the Water City at this time, so even in the face of such a large lineup, he did not show the slightest fear. He did not think that these people would be able to deal with him at sea without Akiji. Zhangguo stared at Finn and said in a heavy voice, "Julent D, Finn, I didn't expect that it would come to this point. However, do you think you can really fight against so many of us on your own? Finn didn't want to say anything more. It was completely meaningless, so he teased, justice will win. The two sides are already mortal enemies, and they will fight to the death. Who will be shaken by a few words? The celestial dragon Fergalando Green Ancient Saint looked at Finn coldly, his eyes full of murderous intent. The Knights of God had a total of 2 teams, each with 10 people, and each team had a captain. They were all sacred guards composed of celestial dragons, and each of them was extremely valuable. This time, a team of captains died directly. Seeing his enemy, how could he not be angry, but he did not take the initiative to attack. Obviously, he was old and wanted to wait for a suitable opportunity. Ahahaha, look at me. A man walked out of the Navy crowd. It was Green Bull. He stretched out his hands and suddenly turned into branches. Finn had some difficulty. Did this guy think that his branches could pierce his body and wanted to absorb his nutrients? I saw Green Bull insert his arm into the water. Suddenly, the sea began to shake, and the island that had already sunk underwater was slowly rising. Finn suddenly realized that this guy was the ability of the Mori Mori fruit, representing nature itself, and the foundation of the Sabaeity archipelago was the giant mangrove. He was going to activate his ability to make the mangroves grow and turn the sea into a forest, so that they could fight on it with their fruit abilities. It seems that the Navy is really afraid of a physical master like him, so they directly use the hidden card, Green Bull. That's the fact. It's too dangerous to fight a physical master like Finn on the sea. If Finn is shameless and destroys the ship directly, they will all be finished. After a while, the island was raised up and was still expanding rapidly, with a tendency to connect with other islands. Finn, seeing this, felt a little bad, but Green Bull was in the Navy crowd at this time, and he couldn't rush over and kill this guy. Especially in front of Sengoku, Finn didn't think the Navy Marshal was a weak person. Such an ability is simply too spectacular. Is this the devil fruit ability? It's amazing. The feat of raising an island from the sea by one person shocked the crowd of onlookers. Julent D. Finn, you have no way to run, just surrender. Sengoku saw that Green Bull had connected all the islands together, and shouted at Finn again. At this time, the whole island was like a flat land, and the ground extended to the side of the Navy warship. Sengoku and other devil fruit users seemed to have lost their biggest threat. You brought so many people, you really think highly of me. Aren't you afraid that I will run away and settle accounts with you one by one? Finn said with a sneer. There is a gap between the strength of the enemy and us, so Finn must of course intimidate them and disrupt their morale. Otherwise, they are full of momentum and fight collectively, and he can't beat 4 hands with 2 fists. God knows if there are any strong men from the world government who are coming. Especially Finn doesn't want to start a war immediately. The risk is too high. It's better to delay it as much as possible, and it's better to delay it until Gree's signal. At that time, he will break through with all his strength and run away directly. Who can stop him? It's really going to fight. This guy really intends tune person against so many strong men. Seeing Fine's heroic spirit and high spirits, the onlookers admired him for a moment, but also didn't understand what Fine relied on. This scene was really puzzling to them. At this time, the people on the Navy side were also stunned, and a bad mood spread instantly. Yes, if they didn't take it this time, what should they do for revenge? In this case, you still want to shake our military morale. It seems that no matter how much it costs today, we can't let you go, otherwise we will be unable to sleep and eat. Zhang saw that the military morale was a little shaken, and immediately shouted loudly, showing his determination to fight to the end. He brought all the strong men this time, all the elites of the Navy. In an instant it was like a shot of cardiac stimulant, and their morale was boosted. Seeing that this didn't have much effect, Fine laughed and said, "You are right, who will come first?" Obviously, Finn was being clever again. Whoever comes first, that means that the strong ones should come one by one. With so many people watching, it would be ugly if they all rushed forward at once. For a moment, the Navy was really frightened by this move and didn't understand it. Then I'll go first, my name is Huang Mu, ha 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 ha. Green Bull took the lead and didn't know if he was hidden. A little eager to take credit, or he is just arrogant. Finn looked at him coldly, without much words, but analyzed the enemy intelligence in his mind. This guy is obviously an auxiliary fruit ability user. Is this ability really useful in the face of a real strong man? His ability is so cumbersome, he is a completely defensive guy. And his strongest point is speed. What does the other party's bright smile mean? Doesn't he really take him seriously? This is simply a way to die. Doesn't he know that what he hates most is that others are more arrogant than him? Finn decided to complete a quick kill. This guy is the support of these people. As long as he is present, the other party can fight him unscrupulously on the sea. After all, there are trees everywhere under the Sabaody archipelago. I saw that Huanmu quickly created a large number of plants with his hands and quickly transformed into a huge tree man. It was his ultimate move. Forbidden hate forest. Finn did not stop him from transforming. For him, such a bulky form was just a living target, and he did not care too much. As a speed fighter, how could Finn be attacked by such a bulky tree man? He did not believe that something like a tree could break through his copper skin and iron bones and his armed color defense. But what he did not expect was that Green Bull wanted to rely on his core being wrapped by a giant tree and his thick skin and flesh to wear Finn out. As for how Finn will deal with it next, let's wait and see. Chapter 83. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Looks like a real warrior, come on, ha ha ha. Finn is happy to see such a scene. Although this guy is not simple, it is better than these people rushing up to beat him up. He just wants to have fun with Green Bull and delay time. However, Finn is not naive to think that this is a fair one-on-one sacred battle. After all, both sides have become mortal enemies and will definitely do everything they can. How can he pin his hopes on the enemy's mercy? So he needs to be vigilant at all times to prevent unexpected raids. After all, the celestial dragon Fergalando Green Ancient Saint holding a sword is full of murderous intent. He doesn't believe that this guy will abide by the rules of pirates. In the current situation, he can't use the God of War body second style gun god. After all, it is a long-range attack form. Once he is raided and approached, he can't immediately switch to the third style, and his combat power cannot be maximized. Therefore, Finn decided to use the normal form. Of course, the normal form is only ordinary compared to his other states, but his combat power is first-class Emperor level. Without any water, Green Bull took the lead in attacking, and he kept creating various plants around him. They were growing rapidly, and then began to sprint towards Finn. Finn was not sure what these plants were capable of, and how strong their attacks were, but he didn't dare to be entangled by them casually. He believed that as long as his actions were restricted, the sword-wielding man next to him would instantly cut him down, so, Finn had to keep bombarding with his fists, but fortunately, they were essentially trees, and they would be broken in an instant under Finn's fist of armed color. After all, when Finn was practicing boxing to awaken armed color, the first step was to practice against wood, and he had already developed an indestructible belief. Swish, swish, swish. A mess of plants again, constantly piercing from all directions. Because there were too many, Finn could only dodge around this time. Finn also had difficulty finding the opponent's flaw for a while. Green Bull has now created a large forest of plants, which must be his weapons and can attack the enemy. Finn dared not move forward rashly. Once he was entangled, the consequences would be disastrous. Such dodging made Finn really uncomfortable. When had he ever fought such a frustrating fight? He couldn't help but get angry in his heart. Kid, you are lucky this time. So many people are helping you, so I will let you have fun first, and I will pay you back sooner or later. However, the current situation is still extremely difficult for him. There are vines chasing him everywhere, and he must always be vigilant against the black guns around him. There is no way, he can't rush over and fight Green Bull, he can only keep dodging the pursuit of these plants. Fortunately, the plants need time to grow, not instantly. He is still at ease. After all, he is a real physical master, and speed is his strong point. Finn also hates the power of the devil fruit more. This guy has wood attribute, so fire attack is the best choice. One thing can defeat another thing, but where does the fire come from? He can't figure out why everyone can attack with fire in the original book, but there is no such thing as fire element here, he also knows. No wonder this guy in the original book admires Akainu so much. It turns out that he is completely defeated by Akainu, and Finn's favorite opponent is Jinhao. He has thick skin and strong flesh, and has a powerful three-color domineering. He likes to fight head-on. Jinhao's attack is high, but can it be higher than him? Can it be tougher than him? It's simply a natural defeat. Now, he is facing the Sensen fruit with the ability to defend in place. Unless he chooses not to fight, it will be difficult to find a breakthrough. In this way, one chases and the other dodges, and the two have their own ulterior motives. The Navy is also happy to see it happen. Let Green Bull consume first, and then sit back and reap the benefits, trying to minimize the losses. They know very well that the opponent is a real super strong man, not a small fish, and it is unlikely to win without bloodshed. Finn also had his own plan, which was to delay time until Gree took action. At that time, he would launch a violent attack, bombard the enemy, and take the opportunity to dive into the water and run away. After all, there was only one way now, which was to go to Fishman Island. The Grand Line was the base of the Navy. With Kizaru following in the air, he would be chased by the Navy all the time. Even if he was made of iron, he could only hit a few nails. How many days would it take? Gree, led by Kung Fu Manatee, finally came to the bamboo pole bar. At this time, Rayleigh and Xia Qi were staring at the battle in the distance and talking about something. Obviously, the conqueror's color had personal characteristics. He had already seen that it was Finn, but the battle was so fierce, and he couldn't figure out who he was against for a while. He had a deep understanding of how strong Finn was. After all, they were on the island for half a century. It is impossible that they have not fought each other. Of course, both sides were very restrained, but he was deeply impressed by Finn's strength and domineering. He was impressed by a hexagonal warrior like Finn. He was a natural nemesis of swordsmen like him. He was no worse than him in attack, let alone defense. In terms of physical strength, Finn's physique was several orders of magnitude stronger than him. He had no confidence in winning at all. Gree was also full of curiosity before. Why did the name Rayleigh look so familiar? But he never expected that the person in front of him was the Pluto Rayleigh he admired. Senior Rayleigh, it's really you. You are my idol. Gree said excitedly. His friends also showed the same excited expression. Rayleigh's name was really too loud. The legendary figure, only Luffy, the big-hearted player, did not take him seriously and called him by name. Rayleigh was a little confused and didn't understand why he was suddenly recognized. But after seeing the Kung Fu Manatee, he guessed that this might be Finn's men. But why did he come here? Could it be that he came to ask for help? Grace also realized that now was not the time to chase stars. That was the celestial dragons. Now was extremely urgent. Especially now that the battle had started again, it must be that the support from the Navy had arrived. He was also doubting whether Finn could hold on, but thinking of Finn's heroic posture and the operation of sinking the island with one punch, he was convinced. After all, such a power beyond his imagination, a super strong man, was not so easy to defeat. However, the situation was indeed serious, and he quickly told Rayleigh the whole process of what happened. These made Rayleigh a little dumbfounded. Killing the celestial dragons was a big mess. He thought to himself, this wouldn't be asking an old man like me to support it. If he was not guilty, it would be a bit of bragging. He knew the evil deeds of the celestial dragons, and he couldn't stand it, but he knew the consequences of killing the celestial dragons. This was not a joke. He would be hunted down to death. As the 19 descendants of the 20 founding kings of the world government, the celestial dragons enjoyed supreme privileges. In order to prevent internal divisions, it was stated at the time of its establishment that there is no distinction between high and low among the celestial dragons, and all celestial dragons have the same status. As long as there is an offense, the Admiral of the Navy or CP0 will be dispatched. This time, they killed the celestial dragons. They are really a newborn calf that is not afraid of tigers, but my old arms and legs can't bear it. You said that you beat him up to vent your anger, and there is still room for this matter. You directly physically eliminated him, and I have to admire your courage. Some speculations emerged in my heart. Could this person be the existence predicted by Roger? I couldn't help but recall everything about Finn. Oh my God, is it really this guy? Is this the person who changes the future? Now he is in a dilemma again. Should he help? But then he heard Gree say that he just borrowed a coated ship and went to Fishman Island together, and he finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, he looked at Finn with a new look. He understood what Finn meant. He didn't want to bring the disaster to other places. He chose to face it alone and then look for an opportunity to escape. This was both responsible and wise. Rayleigh had no hesitation at this time. He would definitely help such a person. He was a man of faith. In the original work, otherwise, he would not have taken the initiative to fight with Kizaru for Luffy and his gang. Roger once said that people who change the world will rise in the next generation. He remembered this very clearly. He also believed that people who change the world will appear. They just went a little early. He knew that Roger's original intention of opening the Great Pirate Era was to welcome the next generation of Pirate King. He didn't know if that person was Finn, but this time, he decided to take a gamble and help. Chapter 84. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finn was dodging the tangled vines and defending himself with his fists. But he gradually began to feel the ferocity of the opponent's attack. After all, he was able to become a Navy admiral, so he had some strength. As time went on, Green Bull's attack became more and more fierce, and his attitude became more and more arrogant, especially in front of so many colleagues, suppressing Finn and beating him, and he couldn't help but feel happy. Ahahaha, hide, keep hiding, ahahaha. Green Bull's expression became more and more arrogant, as if he was going to eat Finn. He didn't know that Finn didn't want to waste time with him at this time. It was meaningless, and he was the one who suffered. Seeing this guy so narcissistic, Finn was speechless. He hadn't really started yet. What were you laughing at? There were so many people behind you, didn't you have any idea? Finn was thinking about delaying time and waiting for an opportunity, but as time went on, he felt heavier in his heart because he hadn't seen any support for a long time. He suddenly felt a little uneasy and realized that all these plans seemed to be just his wishful thinking. He seemed to have difficulty in grasping the final execution result of Gree. His order was to borrow a boat from Rayleigh, which sounded simple, but it was worth hundreds of millions. Could it be borrowed so easily? And this was obviously a business that some borrowed but not paid back. Would Rayleigh really lend it? He didn't look like a generous rich man. Moreover, he had only known Gree for one day, so why did he suddenly trust Gree so much? Finn began to wonder if he was affected in some way, and he suddenly found that he was poisoned by Luffy. On this sea, the bond between the captain and the crew was not so deep on every ship, and where did the bond between him and Gree come from? The more Finn thought about it, the more frightened he felt, the more scared he became, and the more angry he became. Why did he suddenly give his life and death to others? This is also human nature. When something goes wrong, the first thing that comes to mind is to blame others. How could he forget that he was full of vigor and ambition before, and he was sure that without Akiji, the Navy could not compete with him. Now that Green Bull has appeared in advance, the plan has been disrupted and it has gone wrong. The first thing he thinks of is to pass the blame. This is human nature. No one can be immune to it. Finn is the same. He is just an ordinary person with a little power. However, it is understandable that in this sudden life and death crisis, how many people can really stay calm, and how many people can face death with a smile like Roger and Luffy. Obviously, Finn can't do it. At this time, Finn finally realized that this might be the first desperate situation he would face in his life. He suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. This is the great terror between life and death. At this time, Sengoku and his men also noticed the change in Finn's expression, and they all realized that it might be a critical moment. They knew Finn's background very well and knew that he had a very strong trump card, Shinwo Body, 3 styles, Fallen Angel. Even Akainu didn't last long under this move, and was crippled. Everyone knew how strong Akainu was, so when facing Finn's state, Everyone's expression began to become serious. Jean Guo was also unsure at this time, not knowing how many people could survive in the end, but he understood that there was no way out at this moment. The arrow was on the string, and he had to prepare for this desperate battle. Pay attention, he is going to fight for his life, prepare to fight. Jean Guo solemnly reminded everyone in the navy loudly, but it was obviously unnecessary. No one was blind, and everyone knew how strong Finn was. They all knew that next, no one could guarantee that they would survive. At this moment, Finn didn't plan to pin his hopes on Gree, he had to save himself, but this was the grand line, where could he run to? As long as Kizaru kept following him, he would have nowhere to hide. When Akiji's support arrives, the navy will no longer have any weaknesses on the sea. What awaits him will be a round-robin battle, and he will be exhausted alive. The more Finn thought about it, the more frightened he felt. The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. It seemed that there was only one way out for him. It was a real desperate situation. How could he not be afraid? He wanted to pursue immortality, had a system of transformation, and was qualified to pursue transformation. Was he really going to die like this? How could he not regret it? As a time traveler, is there really no way out today? He didn't want to experience the fear of death again. He was extremely angry at this time. These natives dared to force him like this. His eyes were extremely cold. Looking at the opposite side, his mind was full of killing, and the murderous intent was overflowing. Suddenly, as if affected by the murderous intent, he suddenly realized that this was life, that if he kills everyone and then kills Akiji, the navy will no longer be able to fight him on the sea. This ray of hope is like a life-saving straw. The idea of killing quickly occupied Finn's brain. He decided to kill his way out and kill them all, so that no one dared to attack him. He began to laugh wildly. Humph, ha 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 ha. Humph, ha 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 ha. Humph, ha 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 ha. The domineering aura formed an invisible ripple with him as the center, accompanied by a huge impact force, and spread rapidly to the surroundings. Those pirates who were still watching the excitement, the weak ones fainted directly. Green Bull faced this impact on the battlefield, and the pressure made him a little frightened. As long as there is no domineering color, he will inevitably be impacted by this force. Of course, the strong have a stronger mind and stronger resistance. But the Navy soldiers don't have this ability, and they were stunned one after another. At this time, Sengoku and Fergalando Green also released the Conqueror Haki to fight against it, and the sky was cracked by the momentum of the confrontation. In extreme anger, Finn's heartbeat was beating very fast, and white steam began to come out of his whole body. God of War body, 3 styles, fallen angel. Finn had no other thoughts, only one thought, to kill everyone, kill, kill, kill. His eyes began to turn red. At this time, the Conqueror Haki began to wrap around himself, turning the black body originally protected by the armament Haki into white, the same color as Luffy's Nika after transformation. Sengoku also found something wrong at this time. He knew that this move of Finn could increase the speed extremely quickly. He had used it when fighting Blackbeard and Akainu. He knew very well that it could increase the combat power sharply, but what puzzled him was that the body was black before, but now it became white. Sengoku was a little confused. Could it be a hidden big move? Although he was a little confused, he knew that this was a life and death moment. This could not be just a show. It must be a stronger posture than before. Originally, Finn's basic combat power was enough to give them a headache. Few people could beat him. Now it was even more difficult for them. The buff that doubled the speed was simply beyond the standard. How could he not be terrified? He hurriedly shouted. Pay attention, the life and death moment has come. For justice, be ready to sacrifice. Chapter 85. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With a flap of wings and a sprint, the ground could not bear it and collapsed instantly. A residual image flashed by, and in a flash, Finn appeared in front of Green Bull. Maximum amount cannon punch. The full-strength attack with two-color domineering instantly hit Green Bull's chest. Ah! Accompanied by a scream, the huge tree man's body began to disintegrate, and a figure flew out of it and hit the warship in the distance. Bang! A huge collision sounded, and the man had already crashed directly into the bow of the warship, almost penetrating the entire warship before stopping. This sudden and fierce attack really shows that Finn has been holding back for too long. Green Bull has been jumping so happily in front of him, and he really thinks he has no temper. It's a deadly act. Hell dog. Seeing this, Akainu hurriedly took action, and he was also very jealous when he met his enemies. He clearly remembered how badly Finn had hurt him before, and he had to rest for a whole month. This time, he was obviously going to get back at Finn. He couldn't beat Finn in a one-on-one duel, and he was very afraid. Finn's gun god form could consume him remotely without limit, and he was not as good as him in physical skills, so he couldn't compete, but now it was different. With so many people fighting in a group, Finn couldn't use that state at all, and he was not weak at all. With his observation color, Finn's fist couldn't hurt him at all. However, it was true that he understood that Finn really couldn't do anything to him now. This principle of mutual generation and mutual restraint exists in any world, and it really fits the saying that one thing can defeat another. But just because he couldn't do anything to him didn't mean that he could control Finn. How could he be so easily attacked by surprise? Finn stepped down quickly, flapped his wings, and appeared in the distance. Akainu's giant magma fist naturally hit the air and fell to the ground, and the ground was quickly pierced. Seeing this, Akainu felt bad. The venue was extremely unfriendly to him at this time. There were red trees below. If he was not restrained, the magma would set the whole island on fire. At this time, Zhangguo also quickly activated the fruit ability, transformed into the form of a big Buddha, and continuously released shock waves, hitting Finn. The other vice-admirals did not join the battle at this time. They were responsible for the outer siege to prevent Finn from escaping. They all knew that the battle was not something they could participate in, and Finn was not something they could touch. Of course, there were also people who planned to find an opportunity to raid. Kizaru was like this. He watched in the air, ready to find a fighter and make a key blow. Facing the shock wave, Finn dodged quickly, but the shock wave was wave after wave, and the range was large, so he could not completely dodge it for a while, so he had to resist it with his fists. Bang! Loud noises spread, and the huge impact also caused the ground under Finn's feet to crack. The strength of the warring states is obviously not to be underestimated. The attack force of the shock wave completely exceeds that of Akainu, and the island is sinking again. However, Green Bull has already crawled out of the ruins, with blood in his mouth. Obviously, he was seriously injured by that blow. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. After the transformation, he is obviously thick-skinned, but he is afraid of the attack of the Conqueror's color. Of course, it is also because Finn is too strong. However, Green Bull's resistance to the Conqueror's color is obviously not as good as other generals. I don't know what kind of cracks he has in his heart. The lack of his heart makes him afraid of mental attacks. Against ordinary enemies, he completely suppresses the opponent, but against the king with the Conqueror's color on the sea, he is like being stacked with a strong weak buff. Seeing that the island began to shake and sink again, he did not dare to be careless at this time. He no longer thought about challenging Finn, and began to use his ability to stabilize the island. He knew what he needed to do at this time. If the island sank, the situation would be reversed instantly, and all of them would be defeated by Finn. The battles in this world are so strange, and the environment seriously affects the combat power. The devil fruit ability is strong, but it is afraid of sea water, and it is restrained to death, and there is no way. Facing Finn, this weakness will be infinitely magnified. Green Bull has no choice. This is obviously a situation of life and death. He also understood Finn's strength with the previous attack. If the island is sunk, then they can really wait for death in advance, and he can only let him stabilize the battlefield. On the other side, at the moment of Sengoku's attack, the ancient Saint Fergalando Green also started the attack. A huge slash formed from his sword and instantly slashed towards Finn. The speed was so fast that it was in front of Finn in a breath. Finn did not dare to be careless at all. He knew that this guy was the king of the God Valley incident and a real martial arts master among the celestial dragons. His strength was not inferior to the 4 emperors. In an instant, the slash came to him, and he could only take it hard. He punched the flying slash with a cannon punch. In a hurry, Finn couldn't use his full strength, and was directly hit and retreated several steps in succession, and huge pits were trampled on the ground. However, before Finn could stand firm, Akainu found the right opportunity and attacked again, and was about to confront Finn head-on. Akainu was very experienced in combat and very smart. He knew that in this situation, he would be the one to contain Finn in close combat and limit Finn's movement, and then Sengoku would attack from a distance, and the ancient Saint Fergalando Green would find an opportunity to launch a decisive kill, but they thought too much. Finn was now in the form of a fallen angel, with a bonus of more than double the speed. He was just caught off guard and was not hurt at all. At this speed, how could he be entangled by Akainu? After a few instants and a few flaps of wings, Finn quickly pulled away, just not giving Akainu a chance to fight head-on. He knew very well that in this situation, he couldn't deal with Akainu at all, and continuing to entangle with him was pure death. However, he had no way to deal with the cooperation of these 3 people for a while. He couldn't fight 3 at the same time, and 2 fists could not beat 4 hands, especially these 3 people were super strong, but it was not so easy to make Finn admit defeat like this. He said fiercely in his heart, "If you want to encircle me, don't blame me for being rude, let the people you brought cover me." He flapped his wings and accelerated his sprint, not entangled with the 3 people, and in an instant, he came to the ship where the Tianlong people were. Cannon fist. Without saying anything, he directly hit with all his strength, and the ship was directly interrupted. The shock wave threw many people on the ship into the air. Asshole. Fergalando Green Ancient Saint was instantly furious and understood Finn's intention. If he used their people as a shield, it would cause chaos on the battlefield and make them afraid to act rashly. At this time, he was far away. If he swung out a slash directly, he would definitely hurt his own people by mistake. He could only use the moon step quickly to rush over to block it, but how could he defeat Finn in his current state? He did arrive, but in close combat, Finn directly punched him with a cannon punch, and he only lasted for a breath before being blown away by the huge force. Finn was least afraid of the great swordsman, and this guy happened to be one. Don't forget, Finn is angry now. How can he tell you about martial ethics, what kind of strong demeanor, and he has been surrounded and suppressed, and he has long been fighting to the death. He just wants to kill everyone now. The celestial dragons are the root of all this and the existence he hates the most. He looked at these celestial dragons coldly, and seeing their fearful appearance, Finn enjoyed it very much, but this was not a reason for him to show mercy. Cannon fist. Cannon fist. Cannon fist. Under the fallen angel, there were many figures, and they saw these celestial dragons who were as powerful as vice-admirals. Under his fist, their heads either exploded, or they were broken in the waist, or their chests were pierced. It was a horrible sight. In just a few breaths, there was no complete body on the interrupted ship. Ahahaha. 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 He was covered in blood, like a demon, looking at his masterpiece, full of joy, laughing wildly. This scene made Fergalando Green Ancient Saint explode, and he looked at Finn coldly. Sengoku, Akainu, and other naval generals were also stunned at this time, and they were terrified. They began to worry whether such a thing would happen to them. After all, many of them were not as strong as these celestial dragons. The mood of terror began to spread. Chapter 86. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is he going to start a massacre? Will he come and kill us too? Those seem to be celestial dragons. This guy is really going to blow the whistle. The crowd watching from a distance saw that those celestial dragons, who were comparable to vice-admirals, couldn't even withstand a punch from Finn. They couldn't help but worry that this guy would be so bloodthirsty that he would come and start a massacre. Some people began to retreat, obviously thinking that the situation was not right and they were planning to run away immediately. Zhangguo looked at Finn with a chill on his face. He was more alert in his heart. He and Akainu began to move closer to the warship to prevent Finn from repeating the same trick. Come on, keep going. Finn said coldly to the navy people who were wary of him. Zhangguo didn't say anything at this time, just staring at Finn, thinking about how to break the situation. He was worthy of being a wise marshal, but he was calmer than others, but after thinking about it, there was no good way. If they chased Finn, then Finn would take advantage of his speed advantage to retaliate against the other people on the warship. Yellow Monkey was also silent in the sky. He had no chance to attack at this time. If he attacked by force, if he was entangled by Finn and he was injured, no one would chase Finn. When Finn ran away, they would have no way to deal with it. The Grand Line is so big and the seas are extremely dangerous. As long as Akiji is not there, no one can be Finn's opponent, therefore, he can't attack unless it is absolutely necessary. Ha ha ha. Aren't you going to encircle and suppress me? Then what are you trying to do? Do you want to delay time, that how could Finn let them get what they wanted? He was furious. If you don't go, then I will do it. Don't you have a lot of warships? Don't you have a lot of people? I wonder how many of them you can protect. He used the same trick again and stepped hard. The wreckage of the warship stepped directly into the water, and his people disappeared instantly. Then, the warships of Ghost Spider, Doberman, Baschu, Huashishan and others began to disintegrate one after another under Finn's powerful bombardment. Fortunately, Finn's main goal was the warship, so they saved their lives, but the Marines who were stunned by the Conqueror's haki were killed and injured in countless ways under Finn's rage. This kind of fighting method of avoiding the strong and slaughtering the weak, which did everything possible, really frightened them, but no one would say it was despicable. This was a contest between life and death, and it could only end when one side died. Come on, continue. I want to see how many people you can protect. At this time, Sengoku was in a dilemma. He brought so many people before, but now he thought that he lacked consideration. He just thought that there was more power, and by the way, he also caught the pirates on the island, who would have thought that what they brought were all burdens, which made them afraid to act rashly. Finn's behavior made them have to protect them. At this time, Sengoku, Akainu, and Figolando Green Ancient Saint each looked at each other. Ancient Saint Figolando Green instantly launched an attack, using his ultimate move, and appeared in front of Finn in an instant, but Finn's observation haki was not for show. Without hesitation, he punched with all his strength, but at this moment, Sengoku's shock wave also arrived in front of Finn. Unprepared, Finn was hit directly, and was directly hit by the huge shock wave, and was beaten back one after another, but Finn's whole body was wrapped in domineering aura. Such an attack was not enough to hurt him, but it made his blood surge. At this time, Ancient Saint Figolando Green instantly seized the opportunity, and with the same move, he came in front of Finn again. Under the huge sprint, a sword had been thrust out, wrapped in the domineering haki's full-strength attack. Finn hurriedly took the move, but his strength was less than 50%, so he was no match for Ancient Saint Figolando Green, and was directly blown away by the sword. Sengoku would not give up such an opportunity, and directly sent out a shock wave. Finn had no choice. He couldn't stand still. He could only choose to resist with his body. He resisted several waves of attacks. The two cooperated seamlessly and beat Finn so hard that he couldn't fight back. They were both masters with extremely high combat literacy. They wanted to use this method to restrict Finn's actions. Hell dog. Akainu seized the opportunity and wanted to seriously injure Finn directly. Light speed kick. Kizaru also seized the opportunity and kicked with all his strength in an instant. Facing the siege, Finn's armament haki was activated to the extreme. One fist resisted the slash of the Ancient Saint Figolando Green, and the other fist blocked the magma of Akainu, and then used his body to face the impact of Sengoku and Kizaru. In an instant, he was knocked out. The ground could not bear it and was directly penetrated. Finn was also knocked into the water. Green Bull hurriedly activated his ability to stabilize the battlefield. Finn was extremely embarrassed at this time, with blood flowing from his mouth, but it also gave him a chance to breathe. He was furious. He rushed out of the water directly. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hand. It was the first time he was injured so badly. His eyes were extremely cold and he wanted to kill someone to vent his anger. With his wings flapping and his strength accumulating, Finn kept turning and moving in the air, leaving a few afterimages, making it hard to figure out his target. No one could keep up with him at this speed. Just as everyone was in danger, Finn quickly rushed towards the ancient Saint Fegolando Green. Cannon Fist. Finn knew very well that this guy had the highest attack power, but he was the easiest to deal with among the three. He was a perfect match for the swordsman. Under such a fierce sprint, the ancient Saint Fegolando Green could not dodge. As long as he dodged, it would be a complete gamble of his life, betting whether Finn would catch up with him. If he lost the bet, he would be hit directly, and he would definitely not be able to bear it, so, he directly held the sword with both hands and slashed at Finn's fist with all his strength. Bang! A huge shock wave spread between the two people, and all the surrounding trees were broken. The crowd in the distance was also affected and chose to evacuate, but this was a full-strength attack from Finn after several accelerations, so it was not so easy to receive. This punch directly knocked the sword he held in both hands away, and the fist hit his chest directly. Under the huge force, the chest bone was broken. The man was also knocked out in an instant. He hit the huge mangrove in the distance and sank deeply into it. Finn did not pursue him. He knew very well that the ancient Saint Fegolando Green would definitely not feel good after this attack, and he would not be able to fight for a while. What he had to do now was to defeat the others one by one during this period of time. Who was the next target? Looking at these people, he chose to rush towards Jean Gua because he had the biggest target. And his long-range attack was the most annoying and the biggest threat to him. As long as he was eliminated, his situation would be greatly improved. With wings flapping and charging the flow of cherry blossoms, the man instantly came in front of Jean Gua and punched with a flow of cherry blossoms. It was impossible for Jean Gua to avoid it at this time. With his big body, he could only choose to fight back, and was knocked to the ground in an instant. Akainu and Kizaru could not care so much at this time. They chose to attack Finn directly, but Finn was also very fast and avoided the attack one step ahead. They pulled away and kept flashing in the air. The fist was accumulating power, and the flowing cherry on the fist condensed like a giant sword. Everyone was shocked at this time. No one did not know what such a domineering amount meant. If you can't offset it, you will die. Finn suddenly punched Jean Gua, who had just stood up. A huge amount of flowing cherry gathered and entangled with the domineering color. With a full-strength sprint, it was about to pierce Jean Gua's Buddha-like body. This fatal blow, Finn was already full of power, and the consumption of armed color was huge, and he was determined to kill with one blow. But at this critical moment, when the fist was about to hit Jean Gua, when everyone's heart sank to the bottom of the valley, however, one person blocked Finn's fist, but not completely. The Ryuo was offset, but the huge force of the fist made him retreat step by step. The collision of the Conqueror's haki even made the people around him feel a huge pressure. This time, the impact of the Conqueror's haki directly caused the island to gradually crack, and the ground seemed to be unable to bear it, which shows how powerful the two people who collided were. Finn now doesn't understand when this Garp came. Didn't he also go to Water City to see Luffy? Obviously, the plot has changed a bit. Garp is not worried about Luffy's current strength, and he doesn't need to escort him at all, so he has been at the Navy headquarters. The reason why he didn't show up at the beginning was because Finn saved Ace before, and because they knew each other, especially because they were celestial dragons. He didn't want to take action. But he was still worried, so he followed secretly. As soon as he arrived, he saw that Jean Gua was about to be killed by Finn's blow. How could he not care about the life of his old friend? So he took the blow for Jean Gua. At this time, when Finn was still fighting with Garp, a huge slash suddenly attacked Finn. This time he couldn't spare his hands to resist, so he had to choose to resist with armed color. A slash also came from a distance and collided directly with it, taking the blow for Finn. Seeing this, Finn immediately gave up fighting with Garp and quickly pulled away to see who was supporting him. Captain. But he saw a coated ship 100 meters below the sea. It was Gri, Rayleigh, Xia Qi, and a group of kung fu manatees waving and shouting at him, and the slash was made by Rayleigh. At this time, Finn was a little puzzled. Why did Rayleigh and Xia Qi appear and take such a big risk to help him? Apparently this was Rayleigh's last-minute decision. They had originally wanted to come over secretly to see Lively. But Finn did it so decisively that so many celestial dragons died at once. He knew that this was a big deal. His provision of ships would definitely be investigated, and he was also involved in Ace's incident last time. These actions one after another will definitely be settled by the world government, especially this time. There is no way to reconcile. Unless he does not provide ships, it has nothing to do with this matter. If he really did this, he would not be Mtlnovel. He is a person who has reached the final island and knows all the historical truths. With such a firm will, how could he regret under pressure? Especially seeing the spectacular scene of Finn fighting against many people, he decided to go to the new world together. Finn, boy, go. At this time, Garp looked at Finn and said lightly, he knew that it was difficult to take Finn down now. He was not his opponent in the previous fight. If he wanted to take him down, he didn't know how many people would die. At this time, Zhangguo didn't speak. He just experienced life and death, and he was still frightened, especially since Rayleigh was clearly trying to get involved. There was no way to fight him. At this time, Finn was not in a good condition. He had been maintaining the 3 styles for such a long time, and he had been using Ryuo frequently, so his hockey consumption had long been close to the warning value. He looked at the navy, said nothing, and rushed into the water directly. He knew that as long as he could leave, he would win, and there would be plenty of opportunities for revenge in the future. He was cheating. The limit of his power growth was not something they could compare to. Then, he quickly entered the ship and prepared to go directly to Fishman Island. Chapter 87. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rayleigh, come to my ship, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Brother Finn, you are really amazing. It seems that you are the only one who dares to say this on the sea. Xia looked at Rayleigh, who was a little speechless at this time, and then looked at Finn, and felt that the scene was indeed a little funny. Although Gree and his companions felt a little incredible, they had a little expectation. That was Mtlnovel, a legendary figure, and they also admired their captain's courage. Finn's terrifying record was really too fierce. He could fight against the admirals, marshals, and strong men of the celestial dragons, a bunch of lieutenant generals, and still kill all around and fight his way out. He was a little too strong, which was beyond their understanding. Especially Finn was still like him, taking the pure physical route. How could Gree not admire him? It seems that on the sea, the best way to gain the recognition of men is to show muscles. No wonder there are so many friendships on the sea that started with fighting. This is the law of the jungle, the strong prey on the weak, and this is what the man believes in, no matter which world it is. Finn didn't know that his arrogant attitude had been deeply imprinted in his heart without him realizing it. Brother Finn, I don't know where your boat is, ha 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 ha. Rayleigh glanced at Finn and smiled meaningfully. This was a critical hit, which was really a fatal move. But Finn was choked. He remembered that he didn't even have a boat until now, and he couldn't speak for a while. Seeing Finn being humiliated, Xia and Rayleigh laughed, and Gree and his gang were also holding back. Finn thought, should he follow Roger's example and ask for both people and boats, but he was not so shameless, and it was difficult to say it for a while. But if Rayleigh really let him run away, it would be a waste of resources, and he would be struck by lightning. Ha ha ha. Don't worry about these details. The ship will be there soon, and it's super luxurious. But my old arms and legs can't move, and I can't compare with you young people. The future belongs to you. I don't belong to this era. Besides, I've been there. After these words came out, Finn was silent. Yes, this is Rayleigh, who has long been famous on the sea and enjoyed the excitement of chasing dreams and freedom. What's the point of getting on the ship again? Seeing this, Finn already knew that Rayleigh really didn't have this plan, but he still didn't give up and planned to save the country in a roundabout way. Okay, but this time, I remember this huge favor. I'll protect you, Rayleigh, ha 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 ha. This operation not only shocked Rayleigh, but also stunned Gree and his gang. There is a lot of inner drama. Are you serious? Mtlnovel, does he really need your protection? Is this really appropriate? However, seeing how familiar they were, I once thought that this was their captain's bad taste, and it was the damn desire of men to win. Ha ha ha, that's fine. The two had been together for a while, and Rayleigh knew Finn very well. At this time, he thought that Finn wanted to take advantage of him verbally, so he just dealt with it casually. However, Finn was serious this time. After all, he wanted to occupy the territory. He didn't need him to fight and kill to pull Rayleigh up. He just wanted him to enjoy life. Who asked him to help him so much? Finn has never been an ungrateful person. Whoever treats him well, he always remembers clearly, never forgets his gratitude, never betrays his loyalty. Besides, Rayleigh is very strong, but he is not invincible. It's okay for him to cover him. Wow, it's amazing, there is Fishman Island in front, Grease shouted to Finn in the cabin. Obviously, he had never seen such a miracle. The island located on the bottom of the sea really opened his eyes. Oh, we're here. It looks like everything is going well. After the battle, Finn was a little tired and wanted to rest on Fishman Island to experience the exotic customs. However, when he saw the wonders of Fishman Island, he was also shocked. He was not much more knowledgeable than Gree, not even as old as him, and was also a otaku in his previous life. How could he not be amazed by this wonder that is unique in both worlds? Captain, something bad has happened. We are surrounded. Suddenly, Gree shouted hurriedly to Finn, who was in a daze. When Finn looked over, he knew that it was Hody Jones's new Fishman pirate group. This guy was quite recognizable, and Finn recognized him at a glance. He still gave a thumbs up to this guy's courage in his heart. He is really not afraid of death, right? Boss, that's Julent D. Finn, a pirate with a first bounty of more than 1.5 billion. Should we get out of the way? One of Hody Jones's younger brothers recognized him. Finn was out, and he immediately reminded him. Ha ha ha, a pirate with 1.5 billion, this is the bottom of the sea, if you don't surrender, you will die. Hody Jones said arrogantly, really thinking that the bottom of the sea can let them do whatever they want. It's just a frog in the well, and he doesn't know what to do. Are these guys so brave, so fearless, that they have recognized him, and they still dare to attack him? Finn has already sentenced them to death in his heart. However, it would be a bit cheap to rush up to such a small character. He pointed at the kung fu manatees, and they understood his meaning instantly. After a long tacit understanding, as expected of a group of militants, they rushed up impatiently and fought with these fishmen directly in the sea. Finn knew the strength of this group of people very well. They didn't have much strength, so he wanted to train the actual combat ability of these cute pets. After all, this is his first batch of crew members. Animals are more loyal than people, and he values them more. As expected, this group of so-called new fishman pirates was really frustrated. For a while, they couldn't even deal with these kung fu sea cows, and they were in a stalemate with several cadres. Suddenly, a huge octopus appeared. Finn knew that this should be the Kurakan that appeared in the original book. He was deceived by Hody Jones, so he worked for him. Finn was interested now. He liked this kind of strange thing and thought about how to conquer it. It's really iron-blooded tenderness. Tough guys have a gentle heart. But how to start, he didn't have an idea. While he was still Rayleigh couldn't sit still. He was also surprised that Finn was still in a daze. If he didn't stop it, the ship would be gone. This is his ship. He was about to draw his sword and kill this giant octopus. Seeing this, Finn hurriedly stopped him and said, Rayleigh, wait, watch me. That the king's hockey was instantly released to Kurakan, and it stopped immediately, with beads of sweat on its forehead. Although it could not be seen in the water, its nervousness was obvious. Kurakan was afraid and stopped where he was, trembling, but Finn was in a dilemma. He didn't know how to communicate effectively with this huge creature. He didn't have the strange ability like Luffy to convey emotions to various species. Once again, he was determined to find a devil fruit that could be eaten by an animal and understand human language. He also wanted to have subordinates like Chopper who could communicate with animals. It would be easy to subdue this strange species at that time. Forget it, let's drive it away first, and go to Fishman Island first. It seems that Hody Jones can communicate with this guy. But now it's not appropriate to make trouble in the seabed, Finn thought to himself. Wex, come back. Finn shouted to the group of kung fu manatees. After hearing Finn's call and seeing Finn's gestures, he understood what Finn meant, so he hurriedly communicated with his companions. A group of cute pets quickly left the battle and swam towards Finn, but things would not end so easily. How could Finn have a good impression of this group of fishmen who hated humans so much, especially when they attacked him, and directly activated the godly body Type 2 gun god? Finger gunned machine gun sweep. In an instant, the compressed air bullets emitted by the finger gun were wrapped with armed color domineering, and they directly swept the new fishman pirates crazily. Although the power was weakened in the sea water, it was not something that some small fish could contend with. Except for a few cadres, about 200 people were killed and injured in a short while. Hody Jones and several of his men saw this and knew that they had hit a wall this time, so they hurriedly stuffed something in their mouths and started running away. Finn knew that it should be the murderous medicine, and he was too lazy to chase it. To him, it was just an ant. It was impossible for him to go on an underwater hunt. Since they survived the finger gun, they were not destined to die. Kurakan also saw the tragic situation here and didn't care about fear. After all, what was more important than life? He also started to run away frantically. Chapter 88. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as Finn and his group were about to land on Fishman Island, another group of people came, none other than Shichibukai Jinbei. At this time, the news about the Sabaody archipelago had not spread yet. Now Jinbei still didn't know what Finn had done. He only knew that he had killed a large number of fishmen. He was obviously deceived by Hody Jones. He wanted to wait for Finn to arrive on the island to find out. On the other side, the marshal's office of the Marine headquarters in Marineford was discussing the failure of this incident. I didn't expect that he has grown to this point, and he has used the Overlord's color entanglement so skillfully. This is really beyond our expectations. Zhangguo thought of Finn's arrogant and domineering scene. He went in and out 7 times in their encirclement and suppression, as if there was no one in the world, and caused such a great loss. He couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. It seems that Rayleigh taught him. There must be something we don't know about. If it weren't for Rayleigh's interference and Garp's support, he wouldn't be able to escape. How did he get in touch with Rayleigh? Why did Rayleigh take such a big risk and even support him at the cost of officially becoming an enemy of the world government? This is worth exploring. Vice Admiral Tsuru was also a little confused at this time, and was puzzled by Rayleigh's sudden interference. But she never thought that this was just a prophecy of Pirate King Roger. Garp was a little relieved at this time. Fortunately, he arrived in time this time, otherwise Sengoku might have died, especially with Rayleigh's support. It was obvious that Finn was determined to fight to the death and wanted to kill everyone. It was hard to say how many people in the Navy would be left. He and Finn were very familiar with each other. Finn took his ship when he first went out to sea, and then went to Windmill Village together. Finn stayed there for a year. Obviously, they had a good relationship. Now they became enemies because of their different positions, which made him a little melancholy. He didn't want to fight with Finn, especially because of the incident caused by the Celestial Dragons. He knew it was definitely the Celestial Dragons' fault. So many people died in the end, which made him even more angry. Besides, he didn't have a good impression of the Celestial Dragons. He was a little scared when he thought of the polite boy who just wanted to live a good life in his impression, who suddenly became so arrogant and slaughtered Navy soldiers wantonly, like a devil from hell. Although he was also very annoyed with Finn's actions, Garp would not say anything at this time. After all, it was a life-and-death situation. Finn could do anything for his life, but he still couldn't figure it out. He was not like Sengoku, who was loyal to the world government. He wanted to know the truth of the matter and make his own judgment, so he hurried to ask Kizaru for confirmation. Why did things develop to this point? What is the reason? Kizaru certainly would not choose to cover up, and directly said that the place was the Celestial Dragon slave site. On the way to support, he saw many slaves running around to survive. As for what happened in the middle, he didn't know. When he arrived, the island had been sunk and the Celestial Dragons had long been dead. He only saw Finn standing there, as if waiting for him. Kizaru finally expressed his guess. It should be some tragic and cold-blooded story that touched the young man's passionate heart. Don't look at Kizaru's careless look. It's because he sees clearly that he chooses to keep himself out of trouble. So when he is serious, others unconsciously become serious. What? X10.N01 doubts Kizaru's words. They all know that this person will not shoot without purpose. He is truly sober in the world. They are all shocked, they lost so many subordinates and suffered such heavy losses. In the end, justice was shamed. It turned out to be caused by such a reason. It's really ironic. What kind of justice are they upholding? Seeing that everyone has such expressions of doubting life, seeing that the belief in justice is collapsing. No matter how they hide, the nature of pirates will always be exposed. This incident is just a fuse. Good fellow, Sengoku is worthy of being the admiral of the navy who implements justice in the world. Since he was young, he has been unwavering in supporting the orders of the government. His loyalty is indeed quite high, and he insists on whitewashing it. The final word set the tone of the matter. This is the lawless behavior of pirates, but then again, what else can he do? So many people died, so many warships were lost, especially the celestial dragons suffered heavy casualties. Is there really a possibility of reconciliation between the two sides? Of course, there is no possibility. Everyone present knows it in their hearts. Even if they know that the cause of the incident is ridiculous, they can only accept such a result. After all, they still eat the food of the world government, so they were unhappy for a moment, and then they all recovered. Different positions inevitably produce they didn't want the consequences, but what if they didn't accept it? The strong won't dwell too much on the past, the future is what they should consider. At this time, Akiji also rushed back. They all found that without his ability, it was too dangerous and passive to fight with a physical ability user like Finn on the sea. Zhang Guo directly ordered that Akiji would be stationed at the Navy headquarters in the future, and he would not go on missions without orders, and be ready to support at any time. Such an order was quite uncomfortable for Akiji. After all, who likes to be grounded? But seeing that these people all looked as if it was a matter of course, he didn't know how to refuse for a while. It was really too miserable this time. He also knew that it was really caused by his absence. If he was there, Finn would not be able to escape, and he would be exhausted to death. How should we end it next? What do you think? Zhang Guo threw out this difficult problem. He was really tired from the battle of death just now. When he thought of Finn's last blow, he still had lingering fears. The reward seems to be insufficient and needs to be raised. We must treat this objectively, Vice Admiral, he said seriously. We can't cover this matter, and we can't cover it, otherwise the credibility of the future bounty order will be lost. Zhang Guo nodded helplessly. Although he didn't want to continue to help Finn become famous. But he also knew that the importance of the matter, compared with the prestige of the Navy, Finn's matter seemed insignificant. After all, there are strong people in every era. Even Rox, who oppressed the New World, was not solved in the end. Although he became a mortal enemy, Finn is now in the New World and there is no way to deal with him. Raising the bounty will only help the enemy become famous, and the rest will have no effect, but it still has to be done. A piece of paper represents the fame and fortune that the world pursues. The Navy has mastered the means of measuring fame and fortune, so its status is even higher. After the final discussion, Finn's bounty was set. Era Conspirator, Julent D. Finn, Life or Death, 3 billion Baileys. Chapter 89. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Pluto Rayleigh. Jinbei stared at Rayleigh beside Finn in surprise. He was full of doubts. What was the relationship between the two of them? Why had Hody Jones never mentioned Rayleigh before? At this time, Finn noticed Jinbei, the somewhat angry whale shark man. Shichibukite Sea Knight Jinbei was relatively famous on the sea. The two men's eyes met and began to look at each other. The whale shark man was indeed unique, with a huge body, hair tied into a bun, a thick black short beard on his chin, and two big teeth on his lower jaw, looking like a monster. Finn couldn't help but think, are these 2 teeth purely for decoration? Won't it affect eating? Julent D looked at Finn and was also confused. This man was actually more than 1 meter taller than him. Is this the body that a normal human should have? And that muscle, it's too strong. What's the matter with the flame cloud behind him? After a quick glance, they separated quickly, both of them showing a sense of surprise. Finn looked at the whale shark man in front of him. Although he thought he looked a little strange, he still had a good impression of this popular character in the original book. Julent D was described as being quite decent. After all, he was only given a wrong name, not a wrong title, but he didn't know whether the identity of the 7 warlords would make him attack him. But Finn didn't take it too seriously. He suddenly had an idea in his mind, how to turn Julent D over. This guy still has some strength. Especially good at fishman karate. Finn was also very curious about it. He wanted to learn a few moves of this inherited martial arts. After all, inherited martial arts are very rare in this world. The number of times they appear in the original book is very few. He figured out those by himself. After communicating, maybe they can learn from each other's strengths and weaknesses. He couldn't help but make up for his shortcomings. Julent D is not sure now, but he still bites the bullet and wants to find out the cause of the matter. After all, these 2 have the power to destroy Fishman Island. I wonder what you are doing here. Julent D looked at the 2 in front of him, and he couldn't help but feel a little worried, but being able to become a Shichibukai, he was also a leader among pirates, and he did not show weakness, but directly proposed it. Ha ha ha, go to the new world, don't worry. Rayleigh responded quickly to avoid Finn causing a conflict. Then I don't know why you started the massacre of the fishmen. The behavior of pirates, life and death, has already gambled their lives when they took action, right? Rayleigh responded lightly, knowing that it was the fishmen who took action, plus the previous intelligence. The new fishman pirate group formed by Hody Jones attacked the passing ships. Julent D knew it in his heart. He understood that he was deceived. After all, what Rayleigh said could still make him believe it. Such people have their own pride and don't bother to lie. Finn suddenly remembered the big octopus Kurakan, and felt a little regretful. He really wanted to conquer this big guy, but he couldn't communicate. Suddenly, he had a bold idea. Why not take Fishman Island into his own territory? Some fishmen seem to be able to communicate with fish. Julent D seems to be able to, and the fighting power of fishmen is also very strong. He doesn't have the old-fashioned concept of racial discrimination. Finn was a little excited, but he quickly calmed down. This is not a simple thing. He is just an ordinary person, and he doesn't have the natural leadership temperament. Why should others rely on him? If he really takes Fishman Island into his territory, he doesn't know if he can control it. He has never had this management experience. Besides, although he has military power, he is now a thorn in the eyes of the world government. Fishman Island will definitely not rely on him like this. He can't help but feel a little distressed. In fact, there is a bigger problem. Fishman Island is now Whitebeard's territory. Whitebeard is strong and powerful, and it was Finn himself who caused it. Now he thinks that he was helping the enemy by helping Ace. He thought of the new world that was coming, the paradise of pirates, but also the grave of pirates. The strong are like clouds, and the 4 emperors are like 4 mountains, dividing the new world into pieces. If you want to gain a foothold in the new world, it is essential to seize territory. But the territory of the 4 emperors is not so easy to seize. There are strong people like clouds and pirates like weaving. If you want to seize the territory, you must have enough strength and planning. In fact, the most direct way to seize territory is to use force, directly attack the territory of the 4 emperors, defeat them, and seize the territory. But this requires strong force, and Finn is a little unsure. Finn hesitated again at this time, and had no idea what to do next. Luffy, big news, brother Finn, big news. Nami excitedly took the newly arrived newspaper and shouted to Luffy. Ha ha ha, Finn is really restless. It's only been a short time and he's in the newspaper again. He deserves to be the one. Luffy said with a smile, and a group of people gathered around curiously. 3 billion. Robin shouted in surprise and quickly confirmed the number. It was indeed 3 billion. This is too exaggerated. How long has he been here? Is he so strong? That everyone on the ship was shocked, but Luffy was still smiling. He never thought that this was the same issue as him. If this goes on, he won't be able to become the Pirate King. Other people began to look uneasy. At this age, they are already over the limit. How can they catch up? Not only them, but many pirates of the worst generation also felt a lot of pressure when they saw this news. The pressure brought by Finn was too great, making them feel a little breathless. Ahahaha. 3 billion, what happened? Did Virgo say anything? Doflamingo asked. The subordinates quickly reported the intelligence to him. What? You are telling the truth. Sengoku, Akainu, Kizaru, and Green Bull surrounded and annihilated a large number of Navy soldiers and the celestial dragons. Are you sure you heard it right? In the end, it was not Garp, but Sengoku might die. Are you sure? I can't believe it either, but the information is accurate. Finn's bounty has risen to 3 billion berries, which is second only to the bounty of the 4 emperors. Doflamingo was immediately uneasy. What kind of combat power is this? It's so fierce. He even expressed doubts about whether Kaido has such combat power. Is this the strength that a 20-year-old should have? But then he thought of Finn's shrewdness when he asked him for money. This obviously can't be treated as a young man. He is simply an old fox. Search for the devil fruit that can make animals understand human language immediately. Be sure to find it as soon as possible. Doflamingo ordered hurriedly. Before this, he was very calm and simply told his men to pay attention to this kind of devil fruit, and didn't take it too seriously. This time is different. With such combat power, it would be really stupid not to make friends. He knows very well that he is a businessman. The more friends he has, the bigger his business will be. As the bounty of Finn spread, all the major forces in the New World have exploded. 3 billion berries. It's only been a short time since he went to sea. This is too exaggerated. Who is Finn? He is so strong. Is the New World going to change again? That the Whitebeard pirates, Big Mom pirates, Beasts pirates and other major forces in the New World all feel greatly threatened by Finn's appearance. Is the New World going to be reshuffled again? Whitebeard said with a frown. Dad, do you want to send Ace to meet this guy? After all, they still have some friendship. Marco asked. Yeah, that's fine. Whitebeard nodded. Whitebeard didn't think that Ace's friendship would be of any use at this time. Strength requires territory to support it, and there is no such thing as avoiding it. However, he still planned to let Ace go to Fishman Island to ask about this person. As for how Whitebeard knew that Finn was in Fishman Island, of course Jinbei had already reported it to him. It was really because Finn's current bounty of 3 billion was too scary. Chapter 90. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Really, how can I recruit some reliable people? The current number of people is a bit shabby. Finn said helplessly. Although he has great power, he is just an ordinary person after all, and has no experience in recruiting soldiers. He was just an ordinary employee in the company before, so how could he know how to recruit talents? He also doesn't know how to oppress by force, but he still has common sense, and it is impossible to return to his heart under high pressure. What's the use of a pile of loose sand? Can a team without cohesion fight a war? Things that rely on brains and conquer the world are really difficult for him for a while. If he had these things in his stomach, he wouldn't be so miserable in his previous life. Rayleigh smiled and said, "Ha ha ha, you asked the wrong person. Didn't we have so few people at the beginning? You can ask Whitebeard about this. He has so many people, and the world government doesn't dare to provoke him now." Finn thought about it and agreed. This person didn't have that experience either, but it would definitely not work to ask Whitebeard. It's hard to say who is the enemy now. You can also find some experienced pirates and ask them to help you recruit soldiers. Rayleigh still gave some suggestions. After all, he had been with Finn for a long time. He also knew him well. He knew that he was only a little strong, but he still had too little experience on the sea. Finn nodded and said, "That's a good idea. But don't be in a hurry. It takes time to recruit soldiers." Rayleigh reminded. Finn also knew that this matter would take time. He was indeed a little anxious. There was no way. Who told him that he was in a difficult situation now? He had to find a way to build his own power as soon as possible. He thought about it now. Why not just station on Fishman Island first? After all, this is a strategic place leading to the New World. People will come here continuously, and they are all strong people who have been through the waves. If he can occupy this place, with his own name and Rayleigh's banner, there will definitely be many strong people coming to him. But Finn hesitated again. Fishman Island is a member of the world government. Will it be dangerous if he stays here for a long time? The world government wants his life very much now. Moreover, he does not have enough financial resources to support so many people now. Forget it, let's give up this idea first. Finn sighed and said, he now has some doubts. Did those people who founded a country in history really start from scratch? Didn't they encounter difficulties like him? How did they do it? Rayleigh, do you want to meet Poseidon, the king of the sea of this generation? Finn said to Rayleigh with a smile. Finn has always wanted to meet Shirahoshi, the king of the sea, who has great potential and a natural observation color. Since seeing Akainu's foresight of the future, Finn has been very envious. He knows nothing and has asked Rayleigh for advice, but Rayleigh himself can't do it. I really don't understand how Akainu can do it. Isn't he very irritable? Is it the indifferent heart brought by the absolute justice? Finn thought about it. It seemed that it was rumored in the circle in his previous life that Akainu liked to trim flowers and plants. Could it be true that this seemingly irritable guy was actually the calmest? No one doesn't want this thing, to foresee the future. Mysterious, it is what men want most. Of course, the most incredible observation hockey is Shirahoshi and his mother, who are born with observation hockey, which is scary. Unique. Finn just wants to see it. Maybe he can see some clues. Rayleigh was a little surprised when he heard Finn's words. He knew that the mermaid princess of this generation was the ancient weapon Poseidon, the Sea King, but there were very few people who knew such a secret. It was top secret and would destroy Fishman Island. Unexpectedly, Finn also knew it. He began to become curious about Finn now. Thinking about it carefully, he found that Finn's existence was also unique in history, and his qualifications were truly unrivaled in ancient and modern times. If Finn knew Rayleigh's idea, he would definitely laugh. Isn't this a bait? Finn's bounty order has spread at this time, and no one on Fishman Island doesn't know him. A pirate with 3 billion, he has become the emperor by himself. How can it not be shocking? Just like Hawkeye, his reputation is booming, so it's very simple. No one dared to give face to Finn and Rayleigh, and they easily met the legendary mermaid princess Shirahoshi. Wow, it's really super big, super beautiful, ha ha ha. Finn couldn't help but praise at this time. Shirahoshi hid behind Neptune timidly, and said softly, "Father, this is." Neptune smiled and comforted, "Don't be afraid, Shirahoshi, these two won't hurt you." He didn't know what would happen, but Finn and Rayleigh's request, he couldn't refuse. He could only find Jinbei to accompany him. After all, he still recognized Jinbei's strength. This is Master Finn, and this is Mr. Rayleigh. Well, hello. Shirahoshi realized from his perception of observation that Finn and Rayleigh had no ill intentions, so he greeted them politely. Suddenly, an axe flew from a distance, scaring Shirahoshi to dodge, but it was too late. Finn took a step forward, stood in front of Shirahoshi, and grabbed the axe. Finn was furious. How could he bear it? Such behavior was too bad. He had already sentenced the guy to death in his heart. "Rayleigh, you protect Shirahoshi, I'll be back soon." Finn directly activated the third style, and the man was in the air, and after a few flashes, he disappeared. Finn followed the direction of the attack, and his observation color captured the trace of Vanderdecken 9. He is a devil fruit ability user, afraid of water, so he has been on the island all year round. After a while, Finn saw this wretched guy, but he paid more attention to another person, Watatsumi. Although this guy is not good-looking, Finn knows that he is very simple. He likes people with simple personalities. He thinks it is easy to get along with them. These guys usually have their own jokes, so, he took a fancy to Watatsumi at first sight and decided to take him in. Finn's preferences are so strange, but Vanderdeck Ken 9 was sentenced to death, and he directly used an empty stab. Unexpectedly, this guy still has some strength and caught it. Although Finn performed it under the third style, the empty stab is relatively weak, but not everyone can take it, but can taking the empty stab save his life? Obviously it is impossible. Finn has issued a killing order to this guy. In an instant, he has come in front of him. Just when he was still in fear of the empty stab just now, Finn threw a cannon fist wrapped with the domineering color, and he was directly cracked, obviously dead. When Minazumi saw his master suddenly die, he subconsciously wanted to attack. But Finn's domineering aura instantly shocked him to the spot. Finn knew that this guy was simple-minded and had a childish personality. It's not too easy to subdue a child, you have to show your strong force. He directly activated the second style, Gun God, and stabbed with all his strength, and a huge slash passed by Minazumi. Minazumi was instantly covered in cold sweat and pale, feeling that something terrible had passed by. He shivered and turned his head unconsciously to take a look. I saw that the reef in the distance was directly split into two, and the huge slash cut the sea into a huge abyss, and the sea water was pouring back. Minazumi collapsed to the ground all of a sudden. His legs were soft. Ha ha ha, how about it, do you want to follow me? Finn saw that the time was almost up, and smiled at Minazumi. Minazumi stared at Finn blankly, and was a little stunned for a while. Finn was not in a hurry. He looked at Minatsumi's expression and found it interesting. Then, Minatsumi suddenly reacted. He nodded violently, afraid that if he was a little slow, he would lose the golden opportunity. Ha ha ha, okay, call me captain from now on. Let's go. Things went smoothly, and Finn was obviously in a good mood.